The Imperial Guards found my husband, who had been missing for 2 months, in a small mountain village. The day I went to find him was, coincidentally, the day of his wedding to another woman. He shielded the woman behind him, his gaze wary and unfamiliar as he stared at me. I was injured and lost my memory. It was Serafina who saved me. We are in love, and I am determined to bring her back with me. I smiled with perfect composure. But of course, Lady Serafina saved you, which makes her a benefactress of our house. It is only right that we welcome her into the marquisate as a secondary wife of equal standing. I chuckled to myself. Back at the manor, there is still your precious cousin, the one you love to distraction. I, as the virtuous and composed primary wife, am willing to accept this new woman. But your cousin, she won't be so agreeable. Oh, this will be quite the spectacle. I am the daughter of the declining house of Clearwater. While we held the title of nobility, our house was a hollow shell of its former glory, turbed the power of the established aristocratic families. The current emperor arranged for me to marry into the most prestigious family in the capital, the Marquisate of Wayuan. The Marquise's heir, Lord Alistair, was the most celebrated young nobleman in the city, but on our wedding night, he did not even lift my veil. It was my father who forced me to marry you, he said. There are no feelings between us. As long as you perform your duties as the young mistress of this house, I will grant you all the respect you are due. I was stunned for a moment, not having expected this turn of events. Suddenly, a maidservant shouted from outside, "My lord, Lady Cassia has been found." Without another word to me, Alistair rushed out. He did not return that night. Of course, I had heard rumors before the wedding. Alistair had a childhood sweetheart, a cousin, but her family had fallen from grace, and she had been forced into courtesanship. Had he truly brought a courtesan back to the manor? If such a scandal were to become public, the consequences could be severe. The next day, when I served tea to my mother-in-law, she first offered some words of comfort for my lonely wedding night, then immediately brought up the matter of a concubine. Alistair wishes to take a woman as his concubine. It is a small matter. Evelyn, you are a sensible girl. The matter is settled. I lowered my head in assent, a sarcastic smile playing on my lips. Taking a concubine the day after the wedding, they were certainly in a hurry to give her a title, with no regard for the dignity of the new bride. My family, the House of Clearwater, had little influence. They were not afraid of offending us. The cousin was moved into the hibiscus courtyard, the farthest from my own. Alistair spent every night there, never once setting foot in my chambers. My mother-in-law made a few token attempts to persuade him, but when she saw it had no effect and that I remained passive, she let the matter drop. This continued until half a month later, when he and his cousin went on an outing. They were set upon by bandits, and Alistair, shielding Cassia, was struck by a blade and fell from a cliff. No body was ever found. Cassia was severely beaten by my mother-in-law, and she lay on the floor, the picture of misery. "Aunt, it is my fault, but I am carrying my cousin's child. It is his only heir." My mother-in-law's eyes were red with grief. She ordered the servants to help Cassia up and see her back to the hibiscus courtyard to be cared for. I watched Cassia's retreating back, a playful smile on my face. She had just given me a wonderful surprise. My marriage was decreed by the emperor. For a concubine to bear a child before the primary wife was an affront to his majesty, a scandal the marquisate would not dare to risk. Therefore, the child would have to be registered under my name. I would become a mother without the pain of childbirth. My husband was dead, and once the old marquis passed, the entire vast estate would be mine. What a divine life! The marquisate sent out wave after wave of search parties, and even the emperor dispatched his own guards. But there was no sign of Alistair. I urged the guards to continue their search while I personally tended to my bedridden mother-in-law. I also had a steady stream of the finest tonics sent to the hibiscus courtyard. Under my management, the chaotic household was restored to perfect order. I lifted a bowl of medicine, gently blew on it to cool it, and fed it to my mother-in-law spoonful by spoonful. Her eyes reddened, and she grabbed my hand. Evelyn, my dear, our family has wronged you. Since you married Alistair, he has barely looked at you. I even helped him take a concubine right after your wedding, and allowed that woman to monopolize his time. Now that Alistair is missing, you could have washed your hands of this house, but instead, you've taken on every responsibility. You've cared for this old woman without rest and protected Alistair's child. You are a good girl. I have wronged you. I quickly stepped forward and gently patted her shoulder. Mother, please do not say such things. I married into this house, so I am a part of it. With my husband missing, it is my duty to look after our home for him. The Marchioness shed a tear, choking back a sob. Good child, you have suffered. Marrying you was the greatest fortune of our house. When Alistair is found, I will force him to apologize to you. As long as I am alive, I will not let anyone disrespect you. I gently dabbed the corner of my eye with a handkerchief, then stepped back and knelt. With your words, Mother, my grievances are gone. Oh, Alistair, it would be best if you never returned. In the evening, a maidservant reported that Cassia was demanding to see me. My lady, should we go? It has been so long since the wedding, and I have yet to meet this lady Cassia. Let's go. When I entered her courtyard, she was in the middle of smashing things. The floor was littered with shards of porcelain. Such arrogance. You are with child. Why such a temper? Cassia spun around, glaring at me fiercely. I ignored her gaze, carefully stepped around the debris, and took the main seat. So, you are Evelyn Ye. Insolent. How dare a mere concubine address the primary wife by her given name? My maid snapped. She hasn't even seen the Lord's face in the month since her wedding. What kind of primary wife is she? She only married into this house because of her status, without an ounce of her husband's affection. I took a sip of tea and smiled, signaling for my maid to stand down. I recall that before the House of Cow fell, it was a family of great standing. How did it manage to raise a fool like you? You? Cassia pointed a finger at me, her face a mask of disbelief. I did not marry into this house to win a man's affection. Furthermore, the young lord is missing because of you. And my mother-in-law despises you. You have lost your only protector and become a target for all. I am now in charge of this household. Instead of thinking about how to behave and safely deliver your child, you spout such nonsense. You truly are a fool. Cassia stared at me, dumbfounded. After a long moment, she suddenly laughed. So, it was all an act. Your grace and generosity were all a facade. If you behave and deliver the child, I will not treat you unfairly. My cousin will return. He will definitely return. I paid her no more mind, stood up, and left. Nearly 2 months had passed since Alistair's disappearance. Just when everyone believed he was gone forever, the Emperor's guards discovered a trace of him. In a remote, isolated village deep in the mountains, Alistair, dressed in simple cloth, was holding a woman's hand about to perform a wedding ceremony. I arrived just in time to witness this scene. I had to admit, Alistair was exceptionally handsome. Even in common clothes, his noble features shone through. I explained everything to him, carefully watching his every expression. He went from shock to confusion, then to bewilderment. But I caught the flicker of excitement that crossed his face. The woman clutched his sleeve nervously. Husband, are you going back with her? A look of confusion passed over Alistair's face. He cupped the girl's face and said gently, Serafina, you are the only one in my heart. Of course, I don't want to. Excellent. He doesn't want to go back. If he refuses, I have ways to keep this news from spreading. Just as I was congratulating myself, Alistair's tone shifted. But I have parents, and I want to know who I am. Serafina, trust me. I will take you with me, and I will be good to you for the rest of our lives. Damn this man. Was he trying to find himself, or was he just unwilling to give up the wealth and status of the Marquisate? Alistair shielded the woman behind him, gaze wary and unfamiliar. You say you are my wife. Why do you seem like a stranger to me? It would be strange if I didn't. For half a month after our wedding, he had stayed in his concubine's courtyard, and had not seen me once. "My lord, you were injured and have forgotten the past. It is only natural that you do not remember me." Alistair frowned, his handsome face momentarily blank, but he quickly recovered. "I was injured and lost my memory. It was Seraphina who saved me. She saved my life, and we are in love. I am determined to take her with me." I nodded. The woman suddenly spoke. "I may be a commoner, but I will never be a concubine." Alistair turned to me, waiting for my response. I smiled gracefully. "But of course, Lady Seraphina saved you, which makes her a benefactress of our house. It is only right that we welcome her into the marquisate as a secondary wife of equal standing." Alistair probably hadn't expected me to be so virtuous and generous. A flicker of guilt crossed his face. I chuckled to myself. "Back at the manor, there is still your precious cousin, the one you love to distraction. I, as the virtuous primary wife, am willing to accept her, but your cousin won't be so agreeable. Oh, this will be quite the spectacle." I sent a message back to the manor announcing Alistair's return, deliberately omitting any mention of the other woman. The carriage stopped in front of the marquisate. Alistair helped Seraphina out, their gestures intimate. A scream pierced the air. A blur of pink rushed towards Alistair. Cassia threw herself at him, knocking him back a step. He steadied himself and pushed her away with a look of displeasure. "Cousin, it is me, Cassia. Don't you remember me?" A look of confusion crossed Alistair's face. He cleared his throat. "I am sorry, I have amnesia." Then, ignoring Cassia's stunned silence, he took Seraphina's hand and walked through the gates. I had no intention of dealing with her, but as I passed, she spoke in a trembling voice. What happened to him?" "He fell from a cliff, was injured, and lost his memory. That young lady saved him. They have already performed a wedding ceremony." Cassia's face went pale. She stood there for a long time, unable to recover. Inside the main hall, my mother-in-law was weeping as she held Alistair. The Marquis was also wiping away tears. When I entered, my mother-in-law beckoned me over. "Alistair, this is Evelyn, your wife. While you were missing these 2 months, your father and I were sick with worry. It was your wife who held this family together and found you. In the past, you were foolish and neglected her. Let that be in the past. From this day on, you must treat her well." She then placed my hand in Alistair's. I looked up and met his gaze. His eyes held an emotion I couldn't decipher. "Husband." A single word broke the silence in the room. All eyes turned to Seraphina. Alistair let go of my hand, took hers, and knelt before his mother. "Mother, I have caused you great worry these past months. I was injured and unconscious, and it was Seraphina who saved me. I must repay this debt of life. Furthermore, we are in love. I implore you to grant her the position of a secondary wife." A chilling silence fell over the hall. Absurd. The Marquise's face was contorted with anger. He flicked his sleeve dramatically. Alistair kept his head down, his posture resolute. "No, my mother-in-law said. We have already wronged Evelyn. We cannot add another wife of equal standing. This young lady has done you a great service. Let her be a high-ranking concubine, or perhaps we can adopt her as a daughter of the house. Though I come from a humble background, my family has a long-standing rule. We do not become concubines. And since I have already married my husband, how can I become an adopted daughter?" She knelt on the floor, her frame delicate but her words firm and dignified. "Seraphina, I will never fail you." The situation reached a stalemate. I kept my head down, but I could feel my mother-in-law's gaze on me. She was waiting for me to say something. As expected, when it came to her own son, she wanted me to be the one to yield. I lowered my head and pinched my thigh, forcing my eyes to redden. I was waiting for the drama to escalate. "Cousin, here she comes." Cassia burst in, her face streaked with tears. "Cousin, we were childhood sweethearts. We have known each other for over a decade. We were the ones in love. I am carrying your child. How can you stand before me and vow to be true to another woman for the rest of your life?" Alistair's expression remained unchanged. His gaze rested on Cassia for only a moment before moving away. I do not remember the past. Since you are carrying my child, I will treat you well. But Serafina is different. She is the love of my life. Listen to him. What nonsense, one. I don't remember. And the past is wiped clean. Cassia suddenly screamed and lunged at Serafina. You witch! What have you done to my cousin? I'll kill you! I'll kill you! Alistair turned to shield Serafina and kicked Cassia away. I was utterly dumbfounded. Alistair, what are you doing? She is pregnant. Alistair's tone was icy. I will not let anyone harm Serafina. Cassia sat on the floor, her face pale, looking as if she had lost her mind. I ordered my maids to help her up and take her back to her courtyard. Mother, please grant Lady Serafina the position of a secondary wife. My eyes were red. My voice choked with emotion. I was playing my part perfectly. My mother-in-law rushed forward to help me up, her own eyes red with tears, repeating, "Good child, good child." Evelyn, it is our family that has wronged you. You are so understanding. Marrying you was the greatest fortune of this house for generations. She then called for the household seal of authority and solemnly placed it in my hands. From this day on, the young mistress will manage the household. She is to be respected as you would respect me. I accepted the seal without protest. Alistair's gaze lingered on me for a long time. I personally arranged the wedding for Alistair and Serafina. It was lavish and grand, leaving no detail overlooked. My reputation for being a virtuous and magnanimous wife spread, earning me even more sympathy from the noble ladies of the capital. On their wedding night, a maidservant came to report. My lady, Lady Cassia, is causing a scene in the new couple's courtyard. The young lord is very angry. Should you go and take a look? What a fool. When I arrived at the bridal chamber, the chaos was still in full swing. Cassia was threatening to kill herself to prevent Alistair and Serafina from consummating their marriage. Alistair's face was a mask of fury. If it weren't for her pregnancy, he likely would have struck her. Serafina, however, sat calmly in a chair, saying nothing. This woman had a steady mind. She was not to be underestimated. I looked at the guards beside me. Take Lady Cassia away. My personal guards were skilled in martial arts. They discreetly struck a pressure point on Cassia, immobilizing her, and escorted her out. I curtsied to Alistair. I have not yet had the chance to congratulate my lord on marrying the love of his life. However, there is something I must say. Lady Cassia was once dear to you, and now that she is with child, her emotions are unstable. I hope my lord will show her more patience. I had to be magnanimous, but also make my point, and I had to convey the sorrow of a wife on a night like this. Lying in bed, my head ached. I hoped that fool Cassia wouldn't do something to lose the baby. As for Serafina, I couldn't see through her at all. She came from a humble background but had an incredibly composed demeanor. She seemed to want nothing, yet every move she made was calculated. If it weren't for her, Alistair might have forgotten Cassia, but he wouldn't despise her as he did now. But what did she truly want? If it was just the man, then all would be well. If it was something more, I would not be merciful. News of the Marquisate taking a secondary wife quickly reached the palace. The Emperor was furious. He summoned Alistair and me, using the opportunity to reprimand the house. I changed my clothes and waited for Alistair in the carriage. He arrived hand in hand with Serafina. He didn't even greet me. Serafina, don't worry. Nothing will happen. The woman bit her lip, a few stray hairs falling across her forehead, looking utterly pitiable. Alistair immediately pulled her into his arms. I lowered the carriage curtain and let out a soft laugh. So brazen in public. I wondered what trouble this display would stir up. Alistair entered the carriage and sat across from me. I nodded with a smile and greeted him as my lord, which served as my formal address. A long silence fell between us. Alistair and I truly had nothing to say to each other, both before and after his amnesia. There were no feelings between us. This was the first time we had been so close. These past few days, the household has been in your care. I was surprised he spoke first. My mother tells me you are a good wife, virtuous, composed, and capable. If you continue to manage the household well, I will grant you everything, except for my love. I pinched my thigh, forcing my eyes to redden, and looked up at him. Alistair was taken aback for a moment, a flicker of guilt crossing his face. My lord, I am your primary wife. Managing the household and caring for my in-laws are my duties. In the past, you only had eyes for Lady Cassia. Now, you only have eyes for Seraphina. I know you do not like me, but please, do not say such things so directly. It hurts to hear them. Alistair's brow twitched. He opened his mouth as if to say something, but I turned to look out the window. I don't need your love, I need your guilt. The palace, the Emperor berated Alistair, demanding he divorce his secondary wife and questioning how he could have wronged me so. Alistair knelt, dignified and unyielding, stating he would never divorce Seraphina. I could see that the Emperor was not as concerned as he appeared. I was just the daughter of a fallen house. I wasn't worth his effort. He was merely using this as a pretext to curb the influence of the overly prominent marquisate. I knelt and pleaded with the Emperor. I thank your Majesty for your consideration. Lady Seraphina has done a great service to our house. If not for her, my lord would have perished. My in-laws would have lost their only son, and I would have been overcome with grief. There would have been no one to manage the marquisate. Privately, she saved our family. Publicly, she saved the century-old house of Weiyuan from ruin. If your Majesty forces my lord to divorce his wife out of concern for me, then I humbly ask your Majesty to grant us a divorce instead. That will solve everything. The young, refined emperor raised an eyebrow, a playful smile on his lips. It is rare to see such a magnanimous wife. Your husband is protecting another woman, yet you are willing to ask for a divorce, for her sake. My feelings for my lord run deep. I want to see him happy. I am willing to protect the one he loves for his sake. I felt a gaze on my back. I knew it was Alistair. The Emperor laughed. He waved his hand and said, Alistair, take your wife and go. I will not meddle in your affairs. We kowtowed in thanks and slowly exited the hall. As we were about to board the carriage, Alistair suddenly grabbed my sleeve. Evelyn, thank you. You are so good, so well read and understanding. I have wronged you. I pulled my sleeve free and said, It is nothing. Then I quickly boarded the carriage, leaving him to stare at his empty hand. After all, what man doesn't like a woman who is devoted to him, who suffers for him, and who now deliberately keeps her distance? That kind of push and pull is irresistible to a man. Over the next few days, my mother-in-law repeatedly urged us to consummate our marriage. Alistair would look at me with a neutral expression, but I knew he was waiting for my reaction. It is not enough yet. I used the excuse of feeling unwell to refuse. My mother-in-law looked at us and sighed heavily. As I was leaving her courtyard, Alistair called out to me, My lord, is there something you need? You, Evelyn. I am your husband. You don't need to address me so formally. Someone else already calls you husband, my lord. You do not need one more. Alistair's handsome face was tinged with helplessness. He opened his mouth but said nothing. I looked up at him. Lady Cassia is with child. If you have time, you should visit her. You and Seraphina have a lifetime ahead of you. There is no rush. You ask this for others. Why don't you ask me to visit you more often? Please don't. I was about to put on another performance when Seraphina's maidservant came running in a panic. My lord, it is terrible. My lady ate the bird's nest soup from the kitchen and has collapsed, vomiting blood. I was shocked. How could this be? When we arrived, the physician was already examining her. A shocking pool of blood stained the floor. Alistair clutched Seraphina's hand like a madman, calling her name over and over. The physician diagnosed it as a potent poison. Me mother-in-law's headmaid arrived, announcing that the matter was to be handled by me. The Marchioness would not intervene. I surveyed the room. Are the kitchen staff here? Who prepared Lady Seraphina's soup? Who handled it? Speak truthfully, and you may yet save your life. An old woman fell to her knees, trembling as she pointed outside. My lady, I prepared the soup myself, but I did not add any poison. It is just that. Just what? On the way here, I ran into Lady Cassia's maid. She insisted on seeing what was inside. Lady Cassia is with child and has always been arrogant. I didn't dare refuse. I frowned. Cassia hated Seraphina, but would she really go so far as to poison her and use her own maid to do it? That was like announcing to the world that she was the culprit. Something was wrong. While I was puzzling over this, Alistair suddenly stormed out, heading towards Cassia's courtyard. This is bad. He was so in love with Seraphina now. He might harm Cassia. I couldn't keep up with him. By the time I arrived, Cassia was on the floor, a clear handprint on her cheek. I frowned at Alistair. He was truly ruthless. You venomous woman! How dare you harm Seraphina? Cassia's face was pale. She shrieked like a madwoman. It is because of her that we've come to this. She provoked me first. She said I was getting old and ugly. She said I was uncouth. So I gave her a potion to ruin her face. I did nothing wrong. You hit me. You actually hit me. At her words, both Alistair and I froze. You are saying you only gave her something to mar her looks? Cassia glanced at me. Yes, I did. He was only bewitched by her pretty face. You are still lying. You used a deadly poison. You wanted Seraphina dead. Alistair stepped forward again, raising his hand to strike. I grabbed his wrist, blocking the blow, and stood in front of Cassia. Alistair looked at me, confused. My face was calm, but my words were firm. Lady Cassia is with child. Why would you strike her over an unproven accusation? Furthermore, there is clearly more to this story. Behind me, Cassia shrieked. What poison? I only gave her something to ruin her face. Nothing else. Evelyn, let go. If it wasn't her, who else could it be? As we were locked in a stalemate, a maidservant reported that Seraphina had woken up. Alistair's face lit up, and he immediately rushed off. Watching his retreating back, I felt a wave of disgust. Truly heartless. Even if he had forgotten the past, how could he strike his pregnant concubine without knowing the full truth? Oh, Alistair, if you ever remember the past and see how you treated the woman you once cherished like dirt, what will you think? Help Lady Cassia up. Are you here to punish me? I admit what I've done, but I will not admit what I haven't. I did not try to kill her. I believe you. Cassia's eyes widened in confusion. Why did you stop him just now? Isn't this outcome what you wanted to see? I took a sip of tea. You and I were never enemies. You love Alistair. I do not. I want my position in this house, while your status will always be that of a concubine. You see, there is no conflict between us. It was you who always treated me as a rival. Cassia's expression grew serious. She stared at me without a word. I protected you today because I cannot stand to see an innocent person wrongly accused. Besides, you are with child, and I must protect that child. Cassia instinctively covered her belly. After a moment, she stepped back with a bitter smile. You want my child, though you did not use a deadly poison on Seraphina. The fact remains that you did poison her. No one will believe your story. You have fallen into a trap. Alistair has no feelings for you left. You have no one to protect you. Right now, only I can protect you. I am not forcing you, but you should think about what is best for your child. Cassia laughed like a madwoman. Why does fate mock me so? You say you believe me. Then who do you think poisoned her? I avoided the question and rose to leave. Cassia, in this world, the most unreliable thing is a man's love. To touch it is to be doomed. I did not visit Seraphina. It would have been pointless. Alistair would always believe her. She claimed that to be alive, and by his side was a blessing from the heavens. She would not pursue the matter of the poisoner if only for the sake of her unborn child, virtuous and forgiving. With just a few words, Seraphina had settled the matter. The case was full of holes. but her magnanimous decision to drop it left Cassia with no opportunity to defend herself. How brilliant. The matter was closed. My mother-in-law publicly ordered Cassia to be confined to her quarters and sent to a country estate after giving birth. I sighed. Cassia had been completely defeated by her. As a woman, I pitied Cassia. I secretly sent people to look after her. I couldn't do much, but I could ensure she did not want for food or clothing. After that, I tried to avoid Serafina as much as possible, fearing that another incident would occur. I saw her again half a month later at Alistair's birthday banquet. She wore a lake green dress, looking fresh and lovely. As she leaned on Alistair's shoulder, her gaze drifted towards me. With Cassia out of the way, she was now flaunting her relationship in front of me. Serafina presented Alistair with a beautifully embroidered screen. My mother-in-law glanced at her, then at me. "Evelyn, what gift have you prepared for your husband?" I rose and curtsied. "My lord is a man of noble birth and wants for nothing. I grew up in the South with my maternal grandparents there. It is the custom to eat a bowl of noodle soup on one's birthday." I clapped my hands, and a servant brought in an exquisite food box. I lifted the lid, and a fragrant aroma filled the air. "This is the birthday noodle soup I prepared for my husband." Alistair looked at me, his eyes brightening. Gaze then fell on the red marks on my hands, and he grabbed my wrist. "You made this yourself?" he asked, surprised. My maidservant chimed in at the perfect moment. "My lord, you don't know. My lady practiced many times to perfect this soup. She burned her hands in several places." I pulled my hand back and shot a gentle glare at the maid. "That is hardly worth mentioning. It is just a small burn." Alistair ordered a servant to fetch burn ointment. Then, he swept me up into his arms. I was caught off guard and instinctively wrapped my arms around his neck. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Serafina clenching her fists, her knuckles white. Alistair placed me on a chaise lounge and carefully applied the ointment, blowing on it gently as if it were a precious treasure. Me mother-in-law smiled with satisfaction. "This is how it should be. Evelyn is a rare and good child. You have been married for months but have not consummated your marriage. Alistair, tonight, you must stay in your wife's courtyard." Alistair smiled at me, his eyes sparkling. My face flushed, and I lowered my head. That night, Alistair did not come. The servant said that on his way he heard the melancholic sound of Serafina's zither, and went to her courtyard instead. I yawned, washed up, and went to bed. It made no difference to me whether he came or not, but Serafina couldn't even tolerate this small matter. No wonder she had gone after Cassia. She was afraid Alistair's old feelings for her would reignite. The next morning, Alistair arrived early. When I appeared before him with a deliberately weary look, he suddenly pulled me into his arms. "Evelyn, I am sorry, I made you wait all night. Husband, I can feel disappointment too." He held me tighter. "You finally called me husband, Evelyn. I will treat you well. This will not happen again." After some maneuvering, I finally managed to send him away. After breakfast, I headed to the hibiscus courtyard, but I ran into Serafina on the way. She stood in the lakeside pavilion, watching me quietly. "You always travel with so many maids? She was never a threat to you. Yet you poisoned yourself to get rid of her for good. Alistair once loved her deeply. To keep her around was a risk. So, why have you sought me out today?" Her expression was serene as she curtsied to me. "Sister, I never considered you a threat, but now Alistair's feelings for you have changed last night. I had to use all my strength to keep him with me. This morning, before I was even awake, he had already gone to find you." I frowned. "And so?" Her tone was unhurried, as if she were discussing something trivial. "There can be no other woman in my husband's heart but me. He cannot love anyone else. So, sister, you have now become a threat. I must make him grow tired of you." Then she smiled at me, leaned back, and fell into the lake. I was stunned. In the confusion, I reached out to grab her and fell in with her. In the distance, I heard shouts of alarm. With a splash, I saw Alistair dive in. He hesitated for only a second before swimming towards Serafina. Sigh. I turned over and swam towards the opposite bank. Alistair pulled Serafina ashore and told the maids to take her back. Then he turned and jumped back into the lake. I had already climbed out and was watching from a distance. Go on. Swim. It is autumn. The cold won't kill you. When Serafina woke up, she mumbled that she felt as if she had been pushed. But since her back was turned, she hadn't seen who it was. But the maids had all seen that I was the only one near her. Even though she didn't name me, everyone immediately concluded it was me. Me mother-in-law's gaze was sharp as she stared at her. Alistair seemed stunned, gripping Serafina's hand without a word. The situation was tense. Evelyn, my dear child, do you have anything to say? I did not push her. Serafina coughed weakly. Mother, husband, I didn't see clearly. This has nothing to do with my sister. I am fine now. Let us drop the matter. This again. A sarcastic smile touched my lips. We must not drop the matter. Perhaps there was a witness. Cassia walked in, her belly large with child. My lady, my lord, the lakeside pavilion is not far from my courtyard. I saw everything clearly from my window. I swear on my life. She jumped in herself. It has nothing to do with the primary wife. Serafina's face instantly went pale. I have no particular friendship with Lady Cassia. She would not lie to protect me. The truth speaks for itself. No, that is not it, husband. You must believe me. Why would I harm myself just to frame her? Serafina's expression was frantic. Her words no longer calm. Cassia sneered, pointing at Serafina. You have some nerve. You poisoned yourself to frame me, and now you jump into a lake to frame the primary wife. Have you ever been wrongly accused in any of these matters? Alistair looked at Serafina in shock, his eyes flickering. Serafina's voice was choked with sobs as she continued to argue. Sister Cassia, I already forgave you for poisoning me. Why must you continue to slander me? I knelt before my mother-in-law. There is something I have been wondering. Serafina knows medicine. How could she not have noticed if her food was poisoned? Unless it was deliberate. Everyone present understood my unspoken meaning. Serafina was about to continue her explanation when Alistair cut her off. Enough. Husband. Alistair stood and bowed to his mother. Mother, this matter has troubled you. Please go and rest. Then he walked over to me, his face filled with apology. Evelyn, I knew you were a strong swimmer. That is why I went to save Serafina first. I nodded and asked, will you be confining me to my quarters for this? This incident has nothing to do with you? With that one sentence, the matter was settled. Serafina's face turned completely white. Cassia and I left together. When we reached the lakeside pavilion, she spoke. You helped me last time today. I returned the favor. By exposing her today, you may not have won Alistair's trust. He might even think you are just being jealous. You have gained nothing in his eyes, Cassia sneered. My heart is dead. I will not waste another thought on a man. She then bowed to me. The first child of this house should be registered under the primary wife's name. I ask for your protection for my child and me. She was pledging her loyalty. I helped her up. Your thinking will benefit us both. Alistair stayed in his study all day, avoiding Serafina. But that night, he came to my courtyard. He stood at the door, gazing at me. His handsome face was pale and drawn, making him look lonely and vulnerable. My lord, I apologize on Serafina's behalf. I frowned, looking at him with a hurt expression. She used to be as pure and kind as the moon. But since entering this house, she has changed. She would harm herself to frame others. But she saved my life. During those days when I was lost and afraid, she was my only warmth. I cannot abandon her. My eyes welled with tears. And for the first time, have you ever thought about me? First, there was Lady Cassia. You left me on our wedding night and didn't see me once for half a month. Then you disappeared. My in-laws fell ill and the concubine was pregnant. I put aside all my grievances and held this house together, never giving up on finding you. I finally found you, only to see you marrying someone else. Out of gratitude for her saving your life, I willingly stepped back, even offering to divorce you in front of the emperor. She poisons a concubine and frames the primary wife, and she receives no punishment, only an apology from you on her behalf. I wiped a tear from my eye. I am a woman too. I also long for my husband's protection and love. The speech was a mix of truth and lies. The grievances were real, the deep love was false. Alistair's eyes gradually reddened. He pulled me into his arms. A hot tear fell on my neck. Evelyn, you are so good, and yet I have wronged you so. As my primary wife, you have been forced to suffer at every turn. For the rest of our lives, I will make it up to you. To be honest, I felt a little guilty. I don't want your rest of our lives. That night, Alistair held me as we slept, but he did not try to consummate the marriage. Seraphina had been a goddess in his heart, and her sudden fall from grace left him in no mood for such things. Seraphina received no punishment, but Alistair spent less time with her and no longer treated her like a precious jewel. But I had underestimated Seraphina's love. Being neglected was a fatal blow to her. The investigators I had hired found that the bandit attack on Alistair was suspicious. I did not want to get involved, so I passed the clues to the Marquis. In just 3 days, the truth came out, and it was shocking. The bandits that day were not after money. Their target was Alistair, and the mastermind behind the whole plot was Seraphina. The captured bandits confessed that a beautiful woman had hired them to abduct Alistair, forcing him off a cliff to fake his death. The Marquis brought Seraphina in, and the bandits identified her as the woman. They also had the banknotes she had paid them with both witnesses and evidence. There was no denying it. Alistair's eyes were red, his fingers trembling. He grabbed Seraphina's hand. Why did you do this? I thought you were my salvation, but you were the cause of it all. I loved you so much. Seraphina was unnervingly calm, as if she had long anticipated this day. Have you heard of the Turan people? A tribe that can bring the dead back to life. We live in seclusion deep in the forest. 3 years ago, you stumbled into our forest and saw me bathing in the river. You were the first man I had ever seen. You were so handsome. My lord, I have loved you since that day. She stared at Alistair, her expression one of crazed obsession. I defied my clan to come and find you, but you already had another woman. My lord, I love you so much. How could you be with someone else? I arranged for you to disappear, brought you back to the forest, and gave you a potion to erase your memory. Those days were so wonderful. You didn't know anyone else. Your heart and mind were filled with only me. We should have spent our whole lives in the forest, but someone came looking for you, and you wanted to go back with her. My lord, was I not good enough to you? Why are you so greedy? Was I not enough for you? I never intended to harm them. I just wanted you to grow tired of them, so that your heart would belong only to me. A healer is meant to be compassionate. I only ever harmed myself to set my traps. Alistair's eyes were wide with shock and disbelief. He took a deep breath, but a tear still escaped. He muttered, "Madness. This is madness. I never would have guessed this was the truth." Alistair's handsome face had truly led many astray, and Seraphina was indeed a woman driven mad by love. Seraphina was locked away, and a heavy silence fell over the marquisate. I had the maids prepare a bowl of ginseng soup for Alistair. The day's events had been a great blow to him. As I approached his room, I hesitated. He was pitiful, but was he not also detestable? I turned to leave, never imagining it would be the last time. Late that night, the household was thrown into chaos. Flames lit up the sky. Seraphina had somehow escaped and set fire to Alistair's courtyard. I rushed over, but Cassia stopped me. "The fire is too large. My lady, you must think of your own safety." Her face was expressionless, calm, as if the thing burning inside was nothing more than a discarded object. She had truly let go. In the glow of the fire, I vaguely saw Seraphina holding an unconscious Alistair, whispering, there, my love. Now you will never love anyone else. You can only be with me forever." It took a long time to extinguish the fire. Nothing but ashes remained. Why would Seraphina suddenly set a fire and die with Alistair? Cassia looked at me deeply. She would not have had to go to such lengths, but she discovered that Alistair had fallen in love with you. I clenched my fists, a strange feeling in my heart. Alistair was dead, because he had fallen in love with me, delivering a fatal blow to Seraphina. She had set the fire and taken them both. I looked at the ruins before me with a sense of regret, melancholy, and relief. It seemed I was fated to be a widow. In the end, Alistair was still dead. My mother-in-law fell ill and never recovered. Months later, Cassia gave birth to a son. On her deathbed, my mother-in-law attended the celebration for her grandson before passing away. The Marquis had the baby registered under my name and petitioned for him to inherit the title. Then, he retired from court and traveled the world. I became the most prominent and wealthy young widow in the capital. I sat on the veranda, lost in thought. Cassia came out, holding the baby after feeding him. "Here is your son. He is full and has wet himself all over me." I took him in my arms, his small, soft body filling me with a gentle warmth later. I asked her if she still hated Alistair. So many years had passed. To speak of him now felt like talking about another lifetime. She was silent for a long time before she said, "He is dead. What is there to love or hate? But you played the part of a deeply devoted wife, but your heart was never moved. In this whole story, she was the one who had been hurt the most. Childhood sweethearts with a deep love, only to have it all torn apart. She was cast aside by the man she had loved, and he died without ever remembering how much he had once loved her. Now, it was all in the past. The years would pass. The future was long. We would both live our lives well.